Everything's staged and ready for today is 3 and 4. Yesterday was 1 and 2. So now we're going to get it right. Let the show begin. So I figured I'd just voice over on this one. I didn't do too much talking as I was doing it because I had done it the day before and pretty much said everything I needed to say. But I figured I'd just show this one just so you can see how I did the second half. So just for the record, there is plenty of assembly lube on all the pistons, or on all the pins, piston pins. I added some there, but here you can see I'm putting the black silicone around the base of the cylinder. Had a bit of a debacle the day before with I don't know, I was oriented wrong on the side of the engine. I thought I was doing 3 and 4, but I actually did pistons 1 and 2. But I was able to swap the heads around and correct all that. So now I'm just moving forward with the whole project at this point. Just trying to make sure I get that spread nice and evenly around. Still a bit of a newbie, so I'm trying to get a rhythm going. Putting these things together is half the battle, I guess. I sped it up here because, man, I had a hell of a time trying to line the pin up with the rod. Horsed around with it way more than I wanted to. Here goes the clip. Pushing it in there with a 13 millimeter socket. Probably beat on it a little more than I should have, but I really wanted to make sure that clip was seated in there. So we're spinning up, let's see, that's number, let me get my orientation right here. So that's number, holy crap, that's number 4. Holy crap, I don't know, that's 4. So you can see the connecting, the piston pins slid out kind of, was kind of sticky. That's because it's all covered. Everything's covered with assembly lube already. Sped it up here for obvious purposes. Getting the pin lined up in the hole. I think I got lucky with this one and it went in a lot smoother than the first 3. Ah, there it is, yep. Here goes the clip. Push it in with the socket. Little rappy tap tap. One thing about putting the silicone on these things, man, you get your fingers in it, or it's not too hard to get your fingers in it. Trying to slide everything together. That's let's slide the head on. Line everything up. Drop it in place. And let's see, let's not forget the heat shield. No modification needed on my part because of the 8mm studs that I'm working with. Then I realized it's probably easier to slide this thing on with the head out of the way. It kind of clicks in place. I do have some holes drilled that I'm going to put some wire around later. Dust off some of the debris. And back on again. Get the push rod tubes all oiled up and in there. Did these one at a time this time. Seemed to go all right. Here's the last one. Checking to make sure everything's lining up. And right about here, I think, I'm noticing as I'm lining up the tubes and the holes. But I'm noticing again, I had the same problem the day before, but I got the push rod tubes way too stretched out. So as a result, the studs are just not poking through. There's not enough thread to get a nut started on them. Today I had even more trouble. I must have had them way more stretched out than when I did the other side. You can see I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm trying to check underneath, see if something's sticking. I noticed the outside studs were poking through enough to get the nut started. So I'm thinking, well, maybe if I get these started, it'll help pull it down enough. Get the better speed wrench. Look, now I'm beating on it with a hammer. Like, what the frick am I gonna do here? And try and tighten those down a little more, but I don't want to tighten them too much. I don't want it going on unevenly over the cylinders. But I'm trying. I'm looking, I'm thinking. Look, at one point I'm gonna stand literally on the engine stand and try and push. And yeah, you can see it's not working. So I don't know the protocol on using a clamp for these things, but I happen to have a 3-foot clamp. And you can see it definitely was a trick to getting this done. So yeah, I guess the lesson learned is do not overstretch the push rod tubes. And I watched a ton of videos, as always, and there was a bunch that said, oh yeah, only need to stretch them like a 1/4 inch. And, my bonehead didn't listen. But I had the clamp, so it seemed to be the trick. So now I can get the washers and the nuts on underneath the valve cover. Speed it up again. Line up them tubes, make sure they're going in there nice and square and straight. They're so stretched out, it's almost futile. But at least now I can get in. There goes the clamp, so it served its purpose. And here comes the torque wrench. So these are 8mm studs. I went up to 23 pounds with them. Somebody commented and said that the 8mm, I'm testing this ratchet because I don't trust it, but somebody commented and said the 8mm studs only need to be torqued to 18. So I did eventually retorque them. But at this point, I went up to 23. I started with 7, like the book says. I think I did at least 3 different steps. And the torque pattern I used, the Chilton book had 2 different torque patterns, and one was for like 1500 and below size engines or 1600 and below. And it had a torque pattern for larger motors. It said like 16 or 1700 and up. So I went with that torque pattern. This is gonna be like I think a 1678 with the 88mm pistons. So that's the second round. I think I went from 7 to 11, then 15, and then 23. I don't know. I think I did it like 4 different phases. And bump it up again. Couple twists. The torque pattern I use, it goes from like the center out. It's a crisscross pattern. It's like the second pattern and only the second pattern. Let's see, this is like the third go around. I don't know why I slowed this part down. Look at me go. I don't don't know, was 23 too tight for these guys? I did back them off to 18. Probably wouldn't have hurt to speed this part up as well. It's getting towards the end of the video, so I figure why not. Let's hear the clicks. I don't know if you saw that, but I kind of was struggling because I had the push rod tubes pushed out too far. Luckily, I had a clamp long enough to reach and help me out. It was like a third hand for me. So that's that for both sides. I kind of tweaked on this engine stand quite a bit, which is not good. Because now it's not going to sit right in there at all. Because ideally, I would have it like that. Maybe I can tweak it back. And that's where I'm going to end for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is my progress for today. A little crooked in the stand, but there she is in all her glory. Beautiful thing. Flying sideways.